Hello, every gaming buddy! Well, it's a new year, so it's also time to get revved up about all the hotly anticipated games of 2014. And to whet your appetite for upcoming games for the PC, the PlayStation 4, and the Xbox One, here's my 2014 game roll, covering 15 of those games that we're all looking forward to. And this isn't something I feel like I can tackle alone, so joining us again is my good friend right out of the gaming industry, Randy Nelson.
Hey everyone, and hey Colby House, thanks for having me back.
Yep, it is great to have you back. We got a lot of requests to bring you back again, and I'm glad we were able to pull you in for something like this, because it's a great topic, it's really easy to talk about, and but we had to be a little subjective about the games that we're going to talk about today, because there's so many being released in 2014. Do you have any idea roughly how many games are released each year?
Oh, it's just from the level of AAA titles down to indie releases. It's it's in the tens of definitely in the thousands.
Yeah.
Probably just in terms of huge AAA releases, there are dozens released every year.
Right. Of course, from those we had to pick 15. So I'm sure we're hopefully the audience goes easy on us. But it's not necessarily the only 15 that we think deserve attention. But it's we had to kind of keep it within reason. So we kind of chose 15. 15 sounded like a decent number. So why don't we go through them? These are games that will be released for either the PC or the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One, or any combination of. We decided to leave out the Wii U, unfortunately, and we definitely left out the old generation consoles, because those are they're not history, but they're pretty old news.
Yeah, they're on their way out, and everything. This is about the future.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the future.
Yeah. In fact, I've noticed a lot of experts in the gaming industry. They want to call the next generation consoles the current generation now, because now this is 2014, so it really is the current generation.
Yeah, everyone's eager to move on.
Yeah. All right, so why don't we start with number one? And by the way, these games are in no particular order. We're not doing like a David Letterman's top 10. But the first one that we wanted to mention is Elder Scrolls Online. And there's a couple of reasons for that. So first of all, the Elder Scrolls Online will release for PC sometime in April. And then it will release for the next gen, or as I should say, current gen consoles, which is PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, in June, right?
Yeah, that's kind of currently the anticipated release for all those different platforms.
Right. And of course you have to pay a certain amount to buy it. Then they're going to slap you with a monthly fee, and because of that, they're going to get a lot of hate. But they've already gotten some hate. Many people are satisfied by the closed betas that have happened. In fact, I participated in it, but I'm not allowed to say anything about the closed beta other than the fact that I know it exists. And then, but some of them liked it. Others felt an emptiness and like they were detached from the Elder Scrolls franchise, playing this online version because of the game mechanics. I don't know. And I kind of felt the same way. And actually, I'm not even supposed to say that. But anyway, moving along. There's also the concept. The other thing I like about it is the abilities trees. So you can stack abilities and spells, you can build those, and then there's skill lines, and then after which you can morph the abilities once you've reached certain levels. And once you've gotten to a much higher level, you'll be able to unlock ultimate abilities. So that's just a mechanic that we didn't even get to see in the closed betas, but that's kind of how the attributes and the character development will happen in the game.
Mm-hmm. And I'm speaking as someone who wasn't privy to anything in advance. I'm just speaking as a fan of the entire Elder Scrolls franchise. That's how I'm coming at this game. That's why it interests me. I haven't been that much of an MMO gamer in the past. I've probably gotten deepest into the Old Republic, the Star Wars MMO, and into Guild Wars 2, actually, like quite a bit. I've never been a World of Warcraft player as such, but this is something that probably like a lot of people out there, it's going to bring together two things I like: MMOs, the idea of MMOs, and then a kind of a beloved franchise for me, Elder Scrolls. So maybe that the kind of emptiness of the game is something, and the detachment from the Elder Scrolls franchise. I mean, that may be just something that gets a lot of work in the final few months before the game comes out.
Right, I agree.
Okay, so moving along to our next game, we have Infamous Second Son, and that is currently scheduled for release in March. Unlike Elder Scrolls Online, this is a PS4 only game, so it's a console exclusive title. It is the third game in the Infamous series. It's a series that debuted on the PlayStation 3. It's from a developer in Washington called Sucker Punch. And they have been working on this for quite a while. It is the first of the three games to be set in a real city. The first two were set in one. The first game was kind of a generic megalopolis, kind of big urban area. The second one was in a fictionalized version of New Orleans, and now this game is set in real world Seattle. The real world, yes.
That's interesting. So Sucker Punch being in Washington State, I wonder why they didn't pick Seattle before. Isn't that the city that they're in?
Well, basically, they're near Seattle, so it seems like if they're going to have to go out and get reference material, this is a good way to go.
Right. And then, is this also an open world game?
It is. It's one of the very first open world games for the PlayStation 4. Currently, a game that I'm playing, not as we record this, but just recently, is Assassin's Creed 4. But that's a multi-platform game. One of the things about Infamous Second Son, is that it's the first PS4 exclusive open world game. It's actually published by Sony, so it's a first party title. So a lot of people are looking to this game to be something that could potentially really show off the hardware, because it has the first party company backing it. So
nice.
That's exciting.
And there's my reason to buy a PlayStation 4 right there. All right, so the third title of 2014, my favorite, Watch Dogs. I just can't wait for this thing. So we don't have a release date yet, but it could release as early as April. It'll release for the PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and the Wii U. And I think one other platform too, I can't remember which. So Randy and I actually did an entire Gamecast episode on this Watch Dogs, focusing on the delay, like how it was developed and then why it was delayed. So have you heard anything new in the industry about Watch Dogs? I haven't really seen much lately.
No, right now it's kind of all quiet on that front. Like you said, it could theoretically be released as early as April. You'd think we would start seeing some renewed marketing. It was just such a strange situation. It was marketed and very heavily as being a launch game for the new consoles, and then it was in the 11th hour and 59th minute it was pulled. So they were probably going to have to really do a lot to sell it to people all over again. So hopefully we'll start hearing something more in the next couple of months.
Well, I hope so, or even more gameplay footage, right? We should see more polished gameplay than we
see what
before.
They've been working on.
Yeah, hopefully.
Next up, we have The Crew, which is actually another Ubisoft title that is going to be released for PC, Xbox One, and the PlayStation 4.
This was another one that was also delayed at the same time as Watch Dogs, huh?
Right. So it's just like Watch Dogs. Basically, it's a release date to be announced, but it's anticipated for 2014. What has me excited about this game is this idea that while it's a kind of a racing adventure game along the lines of some of the Need for Speed games, that's kind of what they're going after. That's their target. They have Need for Speed and Electronic Arts in their crosshairs. Right. But it's this open world racing game with the big draw being that it has a map, a world map that is basically the entire United States.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Right, and it supposedly takes about 90 minutes to drive from coast to coast, which, when you think about that, is an immense amount of time. It's an
Right.
hour and a half
Yeah.
if you simply wanted to drive from coast to coast.
Mm-hmm. And which Ubisoft studio is developing this one?
So this is a new team, and it's called Ivory Tower, and it's comprised of people who worked at Eden Games on the series Test Drive Unlimited. So it's a really good pedigree. They're also getting they're getting some assistance from Ubisoft Reflections, who also has Ubisoft Reflections is also working on Watch Dogs.
Right, and they also did
the driving parts of the game.
Oh, right, and then they also did another driver series, right?
Yeah, they did the actual driver series. So that's very exciting for racing game fans.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a game that I am very interested in for a very particular reason, and that is Broken Age from Double Fine Productions here in the Bay Area, actually. And that reason would be the fact that the fun fact that I happen to be or have the honor of being the very first Kickstarter backer. For this one, it was known as Double Fine Adventure.
Very impressive.
So, I obviously was excited about it from the get-go. And that's because this is Tim Schafer, the head of Double Fine Productions. This is his return to the classic adventure game genre that he has kind of really made a name for himself when he was at LucasArts with games like Monkey Island and Grim Fandango. So this is his return. It's kind of the big return of this genre. It just looks great. It has a hand-drawn art style. Has this really compelling story of two characters. One is a boy that lives in a sci-fi world, and a girl that lives in a kind of a classic fantasy world. It's going to have a great voice cast with people like Elijah Wood and Jack Black, and some others providing the voices. So, I'm a huge fan of this genre, so I really couldn't be more excited. And that's the first part is actually hitting later this month. It's going to be released in episodic format in different acts.
I see.
And it's basically going to be on every platform under the sun. So, except for Xbox One and PlayStation 4. But for us, PC gamers, we won't have a problem playing it.
Great. All right, so number 6 is Thief. Just aptly titled Thief itself. It's kind of like a reboot of the Thief franchise. This is going to be released in February. I'm particularly excited about this because the last Thief that I played, which was Thief Deadly Shadows, this is kind of what pulled me into PC gaming again. That was way back in 2003 or 2004, I can't remember. And it is a reboot. Yep, it's stealth adventure just like the others, with a focus on shadows and stealth and using light to your advantage or darkness to your advantage. Who's the developer and publisher?
Oh, it's actually coming from Eidos and Eidos Montreal.
Got it.
It's a Square Enix game made by Eidos Montreal. That's the same studio that did Deus Ex Human Revolution. But this isn't the same team. This is a different team that's been working on it now for a few years.
Right, I see. And God, so many good things coming out of Montreal, huh? So Ubisoft Montreal is developing Watch Dogs.
It's a real hotbed of development right now.
Yeah, I guess so.
The 7th game on our list is Dark Souls 2, which is a sequel to one of the most challenging games I've ever had the pleasure to play. Even though it shouldn't have been a pleasurable experience, there's just something about it that really challenged my skills as a gamer. This one is due out in March. It is keeping a lot of the same mechanisms as the original game, but just kind of keep going with that whole more is better. So along those lines, it's expected to be about twice the size of Dark Souls.
And what are we going to get a map this time? Dark Souls had no map. What about this one?
The talk so far is that we won't be getting a map, which just seems crazy, but it does also kind of go hand in hand with the punishing the player mantra that the previous game definitely abided by.
Right.
But we're also looking at it having better AI. It will have better graphics, obviously. But yeah, just still hard as hell.
Nice. And what kind of AI improvements would you expect in Dark Souls 2?
Well, basically, from what we're seeing so far, the AI will just have a better understanding of the environment, react better to what you're dishing out. So you can imagine if the game was already very difficult, just having a more realistic AI that adapts to how you play is going to make it crazy.
Right. But this is a game in acts, right? In other words, it's not going to be an open world game. It may be semi-open world.
Semi-open world, right.
I see. Okay.
Coming in at number 8 on our list of anticipated games for 2014 is Titanfall from Respawn and Electronic Arts. This is actually also, like Dark Souls 2, targeted at a March release.
Okay.
Respawn, this is their first title. They are former Infinity Ward and Call of Duty developers. So it is a largely competitive online multiplayer first-person shooter, like Call of Duty, and actually it seems to be geared towards fans of that series, and also competitive first-person shooters in general. The big feature, this is a sci-fi game. The big feature in this will be mechs known as Titans, hence the name, hence the title of the game.
But it won't necessarily be the focal point. I mean, it's not a mech game, right? It really is a first-person shooter game that happens to have mechs as one of the vehicles.
Right. It's not something like a mech warrior game per se.
Right.
You still will be on foot as a pilot with normal human-sized weapons. But then you'll also be able to hop into a mech, into one of these Titans, and duke it out that way too.
Nice. And what platforms?
Yeah, that's the other thing that we should probably mention is this will only appear on Microsoft consoles, so Xbox One and Xbox 360, and on Windows. So PC. That's good for us.
Yeah, it is good for us. I shouldn't knock down Xbox exclusives. The only Xbox exclusive that I do feel like I missed so far is Rise, right? RYSE, I believe.
The Son of Rome.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's called. So from Titanfall, we head to probably one of its biggest competitors, I want to say, for 2014, which is Destiny from Bungie, the creator of Halo, of the Halo series. This is a game being done for Activision, though, not for Microsoft. It's going to be a multi-platform game for consoles. It's going to be on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And this one is coming out in September. Its big draw, its big selling point is that it's an online open-world first-person shooter role-playing adventure game. It's a first-person shooter at its core, but it does have these role-playing and adventure elements. It's going to be a persistent world, and it's going to pair you up with other live players to go on missions and adventure and such.
Right. And each server will have its own persistent instance, so perhaps you can even experiment with a few different persistent worlds, right?
So basically, the player actions will shape how the game kind of unfolds for some time to come. I'm really intrigued by this kind of persistent online premise for a first-person shooter. I really, really like the lore they're building and the art direction.
Right.
I think it's a really neat-looking game. So,
nice. Well, let's see.
That's why I'm excited.
Wow. Let's see if they can pull it off. This is their first non-Halo game, right?
Right. The first non-Halo game since they started working with Microsoft all those years ago.
And that brings us to number 10. We chose Dragon Age Inquisition as another hot release for 2014, probably in the third quarter. Now, Randy and I have some mixed feelings about this. Our opinions differ about the Dragon Age franchise. I played the first one, didn't like it at all. I just barely got through the demo of the second game, and I was equally frustrated and annoyed and bored, and I never played the second one. So I don't know. So tell me about, is this going to be the salvation of the franchise or what?
Well, I don't know if it will be, knowing how you feel about the first game, which is really highly regarded by, by its fans. Right. Knowing how you feel about that, I'm not sure if this is going to be what finally, brings you in and seals the deal and gets you to be a Dragon Age fan. I do know that, what BioWare is aiming for with this is kind of a return to what people liked more about the first game, and really trying to address problems that a lot of people, that the internet at large seem to have had with the second game. They're going to be going, more open world.
That's good.
More customization, and just really trying to take it back, to steer it back towards what that first game was like. So as you're always going to have kind of a crossover with things like, if you obviously you're really into Skyrim and the way it does fantasy role playing. So this is going to be different. It just it remains to be seen how this will do for players who were kind of turned off by the second game.
Right.
Regardless, though, it's still going to be a major release for the year, and I'm excited to see, and I'm interested in knowing what your thoughts are once it comes out.
All right.
Next up, we have at number 11 Mad Max. Yes, Mad Max, as in Mad Max: The Road Warrior and Beyond Thunderdome. Now a fully open world game from a developer that really knows how to do an open world action game, and that's Avalanche. Avalanche is the developer probably best known for two games, Just Cause and Just Cause 2.
Right.
They have a big cult following. Actually, Just Cause 2 is still going strong, and on PC there's a multiplayer add-on that's actually been on Steam.
Yep, I noticed that. Yes.
So that's been actually, making a lot of waves lately. But Mad Max, which is a to be announced release date in 2014 on PC and the new consoles. It is, like I said, an open world Mad Max game. But being a Mad Max game, the focus is going to be pretty heavy on using cars.
That's awesome. Open world post-apocalyptic game with vehicles.
With vehicles and upgrades and upgrades to the vehicles.
And you can craft the vehicles too, I guess. What about aircraft? Anything in the sky, maybe? Hopefully.
Well, there have been from the movies, there were aircraft of certain types. I think there was like a gyrocopter in one of them. And we haven't really seen anything yet along those lines, but so it's totally uncertain at this point. But that would definitely be neat.
Yeah, and Avalanche developed aircraft into the Just Cause series before, so I mean they've got experience with all that.
They know how to do it, so there'd be nothing stopping them except for the game design.
Yep. And that brings us to number 12, which is The Evil Within. This is another Bethesda Softworks game that I'm very much looking forward to. So it is designed by Shinji Mikami, who's the guy who created the Resident Evil series. He worked on the first one, and then he participated in the second and third one, and then he was the director of the fourth one. Was that correct?
Yeah, he really turned the series around with the fourth game. Took it. It created a new design and a new kind of type of gameplay for Resident Evil that has now been kind of copied by a lot of other people who have made these sort of survival horror games.
Right. And even though this is also a survival horror, I mean, he's clearly upped the ante with survival horror and made something totally different. It still will follow some of the game mechanics. It's going to be weapons appropriate for each scene, scarce resources, the balance between horror and action. Just like sheer terror and action. I can't wait for this thing.
It looks, just from the footage that we've seen so far, it looks utterly terrifying. So it looks like it's going to be a great combination of action gameplay and really scary stuff.
And I believe it's for PlayStation 3 and 4, Xbox 360 and 1, and the PC, if I'm not mistaken. There's also a Japanese version of it that will be released. It's called Psycho Break instead of The Evil Within, and you pronounce it in Japanese like Psycho Breaku.
No, that's great. That's a great title.
I don't know why, but it just is.
Our number 13 most anticipated game for 2014 is Wolfenstein: The New Order.
Ooh,
and and this is a game not from id Software. It will be another Bethesda Softworks title developed by a team called Machine Games. Although it won't be an id Software title, it is running on id, an id engine. It's running on id Tech 5, which is the engine that powered Rage and is supposedly powering the yet to really be seen Doom 4.
I see. Right. And this game is a multi-platform release?
Yes, it's actually going to be on practically everything: PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and PC, but no Wii U.
Right.
In fact, it doesn't even look like id Tech 5 is being ported to the Wii U.
Probably not. Yeah.
Right. But this is, it's Wolfenstein.
Yep. I'm gonna love this game. I'm not going to do a full walkthrough of it, but I see that it's set in the 1960s now, in an alternate one of these alternate World War II realities where the other side won.
Right. But it does star BJ Blazkowicz, who apparently now has amnesia after the events of the original. How do you say it?
Oh, what?
Wolfenstein?
Oh, Wolfenstein.
That's great. But yeah, very little is known about it so far. But it's a Wolfenstein game, so we're excited about it nonetheless.
All right, and now that brings us to number 14, another game that I'm very much looking forward to this year. Maybe not as much as Watch Dogs, but I've been waiting for this for 4 years. It's Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt. And this one's going to be released in the second quarter. The developer and the publisher are the same as before, CD Projekt Red. And this time around, The Witcher's world is going to be open world. And we mean really open world this time, just like the open world games that we know and love. It's also going to be 20% larger than Skyrim, if that's even possible.
Wow.
And because of that, they're going to have to change the gameplay mechanics a little bit. And I can see how they will. They're going to have to do a little bit of hand-holding this time. When you have a world that big with not as where it's not as focused and not as obvious what you need to do and how to accomplish a task or how to defeat a monster, you need some kind of hints or some kind of UI aid, which you never had in The Witcher or The Witcher 2. There was not much hand-holding at all. You often didn't know. You'd fight a monster 20, 30 times and die 30 times before you finally figured out the combination, and the combination turns out to be something stupid like, a trap, and then a spell, and then also some testosterone, and then aqua velva. And it was so annoying. That was the only thing that was so annoying about it, is that you couldn't move forward in the game because you spent, one entire day defeating one monster. So they're going to improve that this time, I'm sure. You'll be able to travel from one island to another, from one land to another, and there'll be clusters of side quests in each area. So it's not going to be sparsely populated countryside, this open world countryside with nothing to do. There'll be tons of things to do in the game.
And what platforms is this going to be on?
Oh yes, it's the next generation platforms, which is PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and of course Microsoft Windows.
Finally, we come to number 15 on our list, and that is Wasteland 2. This is a game that's currently in an early beta. You can buy into it. It was Kickstarter-ed. You can buy into it, though, through early access on Steam.
Yep.
It's by In Exile Entertainment, which is Brian Fargo's company. Brian Fargo was one of the creators of the original Wasteland back in 1988.
Yes, that's right.
And so, Colby House, you've actually been playing this game. A bit jealous of you.
Oh, don't be jealous. I'm $60 in the hole because of it. But and it's loaded with bugs, but I guess we have to expect that in an early beta. A Kickstarter beta, of course, it's going to be laden with bugs, right? But one thing I do like about it is that it follows roughly the same storyline as the original. In fact, I've already gotten past the Killer Tomatoes episode, and it's kind of ridiculous. Some of this stuff is so fun that it's that you couldn't possibly develop a Wasteland game without the Killer Tomatoes
and crazy things like that, right?
And then it's the same stuff as before too. It's a turn-based, team-based, kind of a top-down perspective, which is kind of like isometric, but it is a true 3D isometric game. One thing I don't like about it is the unforgiving deaths of your characters in your party. Permanent deaths, too. It's very hard to revive people, and that might just be a gameplay bug that they haven't worked out and ironed out yet. There was even one build where they released something, and all of a sudden the characters wouldn't regenerate their health, and then so they were dying left and right. These characters that you've gotten all the way up to level 5 or level 10, then they die. That's really annoying. I hope
hopefully they'll address that. I mean, we still got a ways. It has a TBA to be announced for the final release date. So there's definitely lots of play balance they can do. Lots of I'm sure they're going to get lots of feedback by releasing that beta. And this is on this is a personal computer game. It's it's PC, Mac, and Linux only.
Right.
For now, at least.
So that'll help them to focus and get it out by the end of the year, and I'm sure they will. Well, we did it. We got through 15 games out of, what did you say, like 1,000, 2,000?
Yeah, hundreds, thousands.
Yeah. There's just so much, and I don't even know how we're going to have time to play all these games, but I don't want to miss any of these, actually.
No, it'll be fun finding out.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you coming back for a second time and talking about games. You've got this amazing, enormous insight into the gaming industry, and I just hope that you can join us again, maybe for another Gamecast episode, or maybe for another one of these. We might do another, here's another 15 games in the second half of 2014 that we're looking forward to.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, thanks for having me. It's been great. I'm just really looking forward to seeing what 2014 has to offer and how all of these games we're really looking forward to turn out. And it will be my pleasure to, bring any insight I can back to your channel.
Yeah, cool. And hopefully not just insight, but I'd love to see Randy Nelson YouTube channel too.
Well, we'll see. Maybe that's a New Year's resolution I should be making.
So, thank you everyone for watching, and remember, you can subscribe to my channel and you'll get all these videos in your inbox. You can also follow me on Twitter, and then you'll get an alert every time I upload something. Or just come back every day, because I upload these games every single day. Alright, we'll see you next time on the Colby House channel. Thanks for watching.